Hello, Profit Hackers. I'm Jeremy Lott, the Chief Visionary for Foundation Accounting and Consulting. I owned a construction company for about 15 years before making a change to accounting because my accountants sucked. My goals are to simplify accounting for construction company owners, fuel your profits, level up your cash flow, and help you grow in a financially responsible way. So let's go. Hello, Profit Hackers, and welcome back to the Contractors Profit Hacks Show. I'm Jeremy Lott with Foundation Accounting and Consulting, and I am the host of the show. And we are slowly building up a library of references for you to make tons of money and to make your business worthwhile. I really want to bring financial abundance to as many contractors as I possibly can. And the process that I've gone through on this podcast, in my book, pick it up at Amazon, You Suck at Profit, and in my social media and everything else that I'm doing are the steps that you need to be able to accomplish those goals, right? So I want to jump into a story. I got a text. It was early evening a couple of weeks ago, and it was from a client that I'm working with, and the client was basically pouring his heart out. He kind of hit a breaking point, and in the text, he was telling me about how, look, every time we meet with you and go over our profit and loss and our gross profit margin and how we're doing, you make things seem so positive and like we're doing things right. The problem is I don't have any money in my bank account, and I've got like 1 week before we go under. That is the worst news to possibly hear. And immediately I started reflecting on my circumstances in 2008, especially when I was really struggling with money and had no money in the bank and wasn't sure where my next job was coming from and wasn't sure how I was going to take care of everyone that I needed to take care of, right? It's a horrible, awful feeling. You feel so trapped. You feel so depressed. You feel like such a failure. It's an awful, horrible position to be in. And you don't have to be there, right? I reached out to him as soon as I could. And I reassured him that he is doing the right things, that they are on the right path. They were accomplishing that first goal of making the money, right? They knew what their costs were, and they were adding a profit on top of that for every job so that they were actually making money. The problem is that they have been stuck in the same trap that so many contractors get stuck in. They get paid for the Smith job, and they take that money and they go back and finish paying off the Brown's job and the Miller's job, right? Well, the problem they're facing now is that they have robbed Peter to pay Paul. They've used all the money that was intended for paying for the Smith job on the Brown job and the Miller job, right? So now they're in the hole on the Smith job. And the next payment that comes in, they're going to have to use that to come back here to the Smith job and pay it off, right? It's a very, very easy problem to get stuck in the middle of, right? And it's because contractors in general are honest, hardworking people that want to pay their debts. They want to make sure that they take care of their people, right? The problem there is that the priority is a little bit skewed. It is important to take care of your people. I'm not saying at all to not take care of your people. However, the two most important things to take care of are, number one, yourself, and number two, the costs for that specific job, right? So here's kind of the way that it works. If you aren't taking a paycheck and you're not paying yourself, what ends up happening to your business? A lot of that depends on what you have going on as far as savings or other income or those kind of things, right? If you have savings, if you have other income, you can survive a while, but you're going downhill fast, right? If you're not paying yourself. And what happens when you run out of the reserves? You have to go get a job. And guess what happens to all of those people that are your people that you're taking care of? They end up hosed, end up screwed because you didn't survive. So you surviving is the number one most important thing for your business. If you want to be an honest person, if you want to be a person full of integrity, and you want to take care of your people, you have to take care of yourself first. It's really the only way. Okay? The second thing that you need to take care of there is the business. You've got to keep the work moving along, right? The quickest way to, well, not the quickest way, but another quick way to shut down your business is to not be able to pay your suppliers, to not be able to pay your subs, to not be able to pay for your overhead for your jobs, right? To not be able to pay your employees. If you don't have that working for you, you will fail. And when you fail, the whole business fails. And everybody that's relying on you, all of your people, will be out. They'll be screwed. Okay? So, in order to keep the work moving along, when you're paid for the Smith job, even if you have other jobs that are outstanding, you have to use that money to pay for the Smith job and to pay yourself profit. Except in reverse order, right? You pay yourself profit first. Then you pay for all the on-the-truck costs that keep the business going. Right? Everything else is lower priority. Those are the two top priorities. Those are the two things that will put you out of business quicker and that will ruin everybody that's depending on you quicker than anything else. So stop missing paychecks. Make it a priority. You've got to survive. If you don't survive, the business dies. If the business, the production, the work that you're doing doesn't survive, the whole business dies. Okay? So we had to have a hard conversation, and we chatted about the different principles that we have worked on as far as building your cash flow, which is the keeping the money is another way of saying that. And we are working on implementing this strategy. Well, it's hard, and I get it. The problem is that, yeah, they may be paid today by the Smith job, But the Millers and the Browns have also paid them, and they didn't use the Miller money to pay the Miller job costs and the Brown job or Brown payment to cover the Brown job costs, right? So they're in the hole. The answer here is that you've got to draw a line in the sand and decide, okay, starting today, we're going to pay when we're paid. And then going forward, when you receive a payment for a specific job, you're going to pay off the suppliers. You're going to pay off the subcontractors. You're going to pay off the employees, so on and so forth, related to that specific job. Okay? Now, you still have that stuff that needs to be paid, right? And so the answer to catching up is that you still, when you're setting aside profit, you've got to use the profit to catch up on those old outstanding amounts, right? Now, implementing this requires some good communication. You're going to have a conversation with your supplier. You're going to have to maintain your mechanics lien rights. You're going to have to communicate with the supplier about the mechanics lien rights and how you are maintaining those for yourself and for your supplier so that everybody can get paid eventually, even when you have a customer that's not paying. Okay? It's not easy. There is no easy answer. The problem that you've created is complicated. It is. It's not your fault. Nobody has taught you any of this before, right? We don't learn this in high school. You don't learn how to pay your bills from your mentor in the industry. It doesn't happen, right? It's just the way it's always been done. So you got to change that mentality. You got to draw that line in the sand. You got to start paying when you're paid. And then you got to use profit to go back and pay off the outstanding accounts. Now, when I say profit, I don't mean the money you're paying yourself. You still need to take a salary. But everything above and beyond that is profit for the company, you use that now to go back and pay off the outstanding from previous days. Okay? Not easy. It's a hard situation. And the client I'm working with, I will figure it out. But it's going to take some time. And it's going to take a mentality shift, a mindset shift. But in the end, it will be so much better for everyone. So draw that line in the sand. Start today. Be responsible about how you pay your bills. If you want integrity with your business and with the people that trust you and rely on you, you have to keep yourself going first. You have to keep your business going second. Right? The work part of your business. We can talk about the selling general and admin. We can talk about SBA loans. We can talk about all those kind of things later on, right? The most important thing is to keep you alive and to keep your work alive so you can continue bringing in the money. Okay? If you have questions or if you have concerns about this, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Reach out and you can find us at my website, which is foundationacs.com. Foundation singular. See, there's no S on the end of foundation. Foundationacs.com. Reach out to us there. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Even if you just want to complain to somebody that has been there and that understands and that really knows the pain that you're facing, I'm here. Reach out. Okay? Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And I will talk to you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you found this episode helpful, please like and subscribe for weekly episodes to help you fuel your profit, level up your cash flow, and finance your growth. Until next time, go enjoy some green M&Ms and protect that cash.